Aloha. I wanted to do a quick video because I don't know if I'll be able to put one together tomorrow. But I already have it lined up, so I want to get it done now. I'll probably get it done quicker if I just do it now, or make it shorter. I mean, before I get there, I want to thank again Novelty for asking the question. That can create a good backdrop for this topic that I had already written down earlier today after the last video, asking about the Mandela effect. And I wanted to go back into it and start speaking about it more so from a more updated perspective. But it's basically the same as I was addressing it in the past, but I'll do that in a future video. This video I wanted to keep as short as can be, to really just make a note in time, I guess, on this channel, and also share a focus of kind of like where I'm coming from, like where my heart is, where my focus is, where my art is, where I'm coming from when I do what I do, because it matters, and it's at the heart of, why I do what I do is for future generations. This is not for me. It's not for any kind of one thing, which is why I kind of like not monetizing my video or having my art style kind of separate, at least on this outlet on YouTube, separate from receiving any kind of money from the advertising outside of what might be offered as a gratitude offering from people who enjoy the videos or get something from the videos. It's a different energy, it's a different magic than advertisement. So for this, it's just something that I feel comfortable with. And also what it does is, I was talking with somebody the other day, is that it allows me to really kind of like have no limitations. I'm not saying that if I was advertising or anything like that, it would, pose a limitation. What I'm saying is that it just feels lighter, pretty much. It feels lighter as of this moment and everything. So, and if I can do that, then I will, and that'll add to, I'll look towards, expanding what I'm doing and what I'm talking about in the future. But all that aside, my main topics that I wanted to share in this video, and you can read the comment. I'm not really going to read the comment. It's just a good backdrop to see where I'm coming from when I mention the focus of this video, which is the ideas of future generations, and the focus of like the indigenous people, the aboriginal people who existed in harmony with nature for the benefit of like 7 generations down the line, the benefit of preserving the harmonics of nature and preserving the wisdom, preserving everything that needed to be preserved for the benefit of not only just humanity, but the cycles and balances of nature as a whole. And like I said in previous videos, the indigenous people and all that other stuff in previous ancient civilizations were not perfect, and I'm not saying all that. What I'm saying is that this system that we exist in today is obviously not perfect, and it's not even natural. It's gone so far off course that it's designed to create separation. It's designed to worship itself and serve only itself at the expense of people, nature, and harmonics. This is what the destructive intelligence, out of balance with the creative intelligence, can manifest into. a complete service to only itself. Now, when I say that, I'm not saying that serving yourself ultimately is bad, because if you serve yourself, if you're taking care of yourself, that's another form of serving others, because you can't serve others if you don't take care of yourselves. So that's the balance. There's a balance there. There's a dance within those harmonics. What I'm saying is that when it gets out of balance, when it gets into the extremes of what it is today, where people are actually killing people when you have people on the other side of the earth plane who are living in slums, and other people on the other side of the earth plane who are dying from being overweight, from eating too much, from like gluttony. That is an extreme out of balance nature in the human experience as a whole. And that storyline means to be avoided by the so-called powers that be, so they can continue to parasite off of the masses and amplify this vampiric philosophy into the normalization program of the human experience, and completely separate people from the natural designs of humanity. So back to the difference between the natural relationship and the synthetic relationship. The natural relationship that the indigenous people who have been demonized and called savage and primitive, backed up by the foundations of the religious programming, who are saying they were, worshiping demons and all that other stuff. That sentiment was only designed and created to uplift the brand newness, the brand new version of psycho-spiritual control, which was the mainstream religions. They needed a bad guy, just like today in the mainstream media. You have real news and fake news. You have everything that's going on that I've talked about in recent videos. All these storylines, they build themselves up in order to have a more recognizable hero. You need a very recognizable villain. And this is how these artificial heroes get created, like Alex Jones, which is the controlled opposition of the natural design, to maintain the focus of consciousness, to act within a box, within, for say example, the scientism community or the university system limitations, the laws of, and it's easy to see within like an Alex Jones perspective, they're only talking about, they max out, their best case scenario is make America great again, is Trump. They won that best case scenario in that mentality of winning, outside of the fact that this shit is all an orchestrated movie. They are celebrating the fact that Trump got out there because they're the artificial compartmentalized separated version of reality that is these are the globalists, and these are the Americana, these are the make America great again people who are outside of the globalists. We need to fight the globalists. That shit is not different. That's not there's no difference between the controlled opposition of the Donald Trump and the overt opposition of the globalist New World Order mentality. It's all one storyline, creating this fabricated version of cowboys and Indians to generate this artificial revolution, this commercial revolution. And TYT does the same thing, talking about join TYT, come join. Of course that's fake news, of course this and that, with jank and all that other stuff. You realize, people who watch this channel, you know the limitations of those TV, or of those, basically their television shows. You know their limitations. So if you know their limitations, then it's easy to see what they're selling to you and how far they're really addressing the storyline of the colonial universe, the enslavement of the human design from the soul to the mind to the body. At best, this program is addressing a small percentage of the body enslavement when they're talking about the globalists and so on and so forth. They max out at the Constitution and worshiping the forefathers and worshiping the supremacy program and worshiping all of the designs that add up, that live on top of the blood and bones of the indigenous people. They will never go as far into the truth world that will take the power away from the system itself. They will never reveal information that will remove power from them. They will only reveal, this is why it's so crucial to understand this new age artificial version of disclosure, and people in the new age community talking about, I can't wait till they talk about aliens and disclosure. Give full disclosure. We don't need a partial disclosure. We need a full disclosure. They need to tell us everything about Area 51 and aliens. They're never going to tell you everything that's available, that's going to empower you, and they're only going to tell you what it is that will keep you entertained. That's what the Greco-Roman Colosseum movie program is about. The enslavement program is about. It's your entertainment. And until we let go of all those worlds, we won't be able to understand our own power to empower ourselves outside of the mind control programs of cheap magicians. So basically what I wanted to share with this is just the observation of realizing that the indigenous people, when they existed in nature, in life, in their wisdom, they existed with a focus of taking care of the water, taking care of the animals, in harmonics with the animals in some kind of way. They were in harmony with nature itself. This was all to focus on future generations, for your great-great-great-grandkids. This is why we lived. The elders knew that if you're not living for future generations, then you're basically dead right now. You might as well not be alive. And this is what we have right now, is people walking around as the living dead. You have living zombies walking around worshiping dead science, dead intellect, dead theories, and having zero connection with nature, zero connection with life, zero connection with the organic future. See, the synthetic version of reality, the technology, transhumanism, CERN programming, timeline, the simulation theory, the Elon Musk, NASA programming, all that shit, the globe model, heliocentric model, it only lives to serve itself, and it only lives to expand the synthetic future focus of reality. So this is why Ancient Aliens tells you the perspectives of history. The ancient part of Ancient Aliens is to tell the perspective of history from a technological alien, which is the synthetic version of reality, and completely demonize the indigenous people based upon the evolution theory and all the other bogus theories that are setting the foundation, like the Big Bang, the heliocentric model, the law of relativity and gravity, and so forth. Those set the foundations for worshiping today's version of humanity as the best and smartest, and so on and so forth. And you subconsciously, since you believe that subconsciously because you believe in the evolution theory, and you realize that the supremacy program has allowed the European race of individuals to mind control the entire human population, then you believe that they are the pinnacle of reality. They are the pinnacle of human intellect, human evolution. So you believe whatever they tell you. And this is reinforced with the blonde hair, blue eyed Jesus, the Santa Claus, your politicians, your teachers, your bushy hair, white God, your so-called first black president, who just did actually worse than the worst, like George Bush. He wasn't even allowed to be your so-called first black president. And the only controversial thing he did was for the LGBT community. He didn't do anything. He wasn't at all. He might as well just have been a black Bill Clinton or something like that. It didn't make any difference. That was only a selling point. That was the movie selling point, like the trailer to the movie. And then when you watch the movie, you're like, this was nothing like the trailer. It's like, no shit, because it didn't. They don't give a shit about you. That's not the intention. They only want you to believe certain things, to shut you down, to distract you. So that's what Obama was after the revolution rumblings of the overt stupidity and deception of a George Bush presidency, and him sending troops into Iraq, and the war on terror, and the 9/11 inside job stuff and all that stuff. People are really understanding how that is existing and how that's going. So the biggest distraction was to say, we can't put another white man in there. We got to put a black man in there and, change the tone, change the atmosphere, get people hopeful about change and hope. And that's all he was there for. And since he was going to expand the war and the destruction, they needed to give him the Nobel Peace Prize to shut even more people up. So giving him the Peace Prize was no different than putting Obama in there after a Bush. It was just to shut you up and think, to mind control you. So the destructive intelligence only means to serve itself when it's out of balance and has zero connection with the creative intelligence. The difference between the two is that when you are in harmonics, when you are in understanding of the harmonics between light and dark, electric and magnetic, the yin-yang, the creative and destructive intelligence as a whole, then you can observe the reality from the perspective of a natural future generation rather than the nearsighted nature of this destructive reality that makes its money off of sickness and disease. There's a cancer industry. They are letting people die from cancer because they make money off of this shit. When will that be addressed? The fact that nobody's talking about that on the so-called alternative news and even in your conspiracy world is fucking suspect. Like, if we don't pump our brakes and realize the most obvious shit, instead of getting caught up in the world as it's presented to us, the distraction world as it's presented to us, then we won't make any progress. We won't understand, and we can't make any progress if we don't firmly root ourselves in the natural roots that our ancient ancestors have already rooted in. They'd already been there. So if we don't recognize that, and we're still acting and reacting within the reactionary program that gets triggered by the system itself, then we won't be doing anything. So first things first, which is why I come from this perspective, is to tap into our roots, find out who and what we are from as deep as where we can go from the ancestral perspective, and stop concerning ourselves, not to say not pay attention to the system and the way it's run, saying that the more we focus on empowerment of ourselves and understanding our roots, the more we will be able to address the the mind control programs of the destructive intelligence. It'll be a double positive, because we will be making forward progress while planting our roots and simultaneously understanding how to approach and address the self-destructive, destructive intelligence program as it presents itself to us. And like I said in previous videos, that destructive intelligence can only survive off of the ignorance of the people. Anytime the consciousness itself expands, the system of destructive intelligence has to adjust itself around that expansion. You can't sell me a ketchup like they say, okay, say you a pet ketchup popsicle and white gloves, like that won't be able to. You can't sell me a turd sandwich and call it like an organic burger or something like that. You can't sell me a box of shit and then tell me it's something else, because I'm aware that's a box of shit. Don't even come over here with that shit. So that's how this magic spell, this magic system works. Because people are aware and saying, hey, you're going around selling people boxes of doo-doo. Stop doing that. And they're, oh yeah, we got caught. Oh, sorry about that. Oh, we didn't mean to sell you a box of doo-doo. Like, yes, you did. That's how you was making money off of that. What you mean you didn't mean to do that? So, no, get out of here with all that mess. So that's how they play the victim role. They play the dumb role. They just move the chess pieces around, play the blame game and the bully mentality. And as long as you're caught up in their so-called intellectual mind control focus program, then you won't be able to empower yourself outside of those orchestrated realities. So back to the beginning of the video, this is why I do these videos largely, is because every day, and it's easy for people who are in the United States to not really see this stuff. Every day there's people living in the slums right now, even in the United States. But if you go into like the hardcore slums, like in India, like I think the top two are in like India and Africa, hardcore slums. They're living there largely because the colonial universe still has a stranglehold on the human consciousness as a whole, with the fiat currency system, with the military industrial complex, with the prison industrial complex. Both India and Africa were colonized by England. They were colonial. They were colonized by Europe, by the European, the colonial universe. At one point, they were colonized, and the minerals, the essence out of not only the land but the people were sucked dry like vampires. They just sucked the life out of it, and then now you have husks of people, husks of human consciousness living in those realities. And the way that they can avoid even looking at that real history that was right around the corner is to sell you these toys, sell you technology, sell you transhumanism, sell you SpaceX, sell you the belief in the evolution model and the globe theory, and sell you that they're your caretakers, like they care for you. That's what all this climate change shit is, based upon the heliocentric model. They want to be your superheroes, so they got to sell you some stories that make them the hero, and they got to sell some stories that make other people villains. They can't really go after too many like of the other, but they can only focus on the villains within their program. Everybody else they have to ignore, because if you step out of their program, then you will start to reveal the fact that they're not even superheroes. They're not at all. If you start talking about this is why they don't talk about the flat earth at all, because then that will cut the legs out of the climate change superherodom, that is that is the power the artificial power to their world. So they're no longer the superheroes if they are being revealed as illusionists and people who have been lying to you for centuries. This is why the starvation all over the earth plane and all of the travesty that comes from the military industrial complex and war and all that other stuff. They won't tell you all that shit. They'll tell you how they are spreading freedom and democracy and all that stuff, because that's how this story needs to be played out. So they'll tell you one side of what happened in Libya with Gaddafi, but they won't tell you what Gaddafi was doing for Africa, what he was getting ready to do, what he was doing, what Libya was really about before they went in there and fucked everything up. And that was directly related to your so-called presidential candidate, Hillary Clinton. She was one of the main ones to make that. In fact, she was actually celebrating it in one video. I heard her say something, I think it was, she said something like, we went in there and killed him and then it's done, or something like that. She was talking about Gaddafi. And if you really look at what Libya was all about, then outside of what the movie mainstream media was telling you it was about, then you'll see something completely different. You'll see the intentions of these individuals that you worship as your so-called superheroes, who still have the power within this illusory grid to even run for president. That was like yesterday she was in the contention for being president. And now you have, and since that's well known, you have to have the giant distraction of this Donald Trump so-called outsider, which is just like Obama was a distraction. He's a distraction because everybody's going to want to watch the Trump show. Everybody wants to watch what he's going to do, what he's going to talk about. And people have been building up that mentality. People have been building up this thirst for Donald Trump this is what the late night talk show hosts do and all that other stuff. They set that tone, subconsciously sell this program to you to maintain low vibrations, maintain focus, maintain a synthetic timeline. So like I said in this comment, these timelines that are going on, there's synthetic timelines that are being amplified by the human focus grid being focused on synthetic versions of reality, being completely separated from nature and buying into the synthetic version of reality. So when that is happening, then you can see if our experience is largely based upon our focus and how we engage in consciousness as a whole, then you can see if our engagement in that world on a conscious and subconscious perspective is not even being activated at all. In fact, it's more being manipulated by the normalization colonial universe system. Then you can see that in order to create synthetic timelines, all you have to do is make or create systems and belief systems for the human consciousness, for them to generate those synthetic timelines and realities by illusions, by magic spells, by stealing their dreams, implanting their dreams, installing vibrations and frequencies with movies and music and fear and everything that's within the destructive intelligence, the out of balance natures. That's what's creating gaps in the reality of the individual and the collective, so that disembodied energies who are focused on this realm can create your reality for you. So you can see this with people who get kidnapped and have that Stockholm syndrome, when they get that point to where they shut down, and then they just kind of start to live the life of a slave, live the life of an individual who's been kidnapped or beat down. You start to love your slave master. And this is what's happening. If that can happen individually, then imagine how that, just multiply that times the entire earth plane, especially when you realize that the earth, the collective consciousness has zero roots, has zero connections with each other and nature and culture and their ancestors, has zero wisdom, has zero everything is zeroed out. And that's how we can live in this fabricated timeline, this busy timeline, to where we will just accept whatever it is that gets put in front of us and totally disregard the future generations. Technology, fossil fuel industry, politics, the military-industrial complex, they are not at all concerned with the future generations. They only care about themselves. No different than the cancer industry, the cigarette industry, your Hollywood industry that makes people depressed and hate themselves. Like, this is the alchemy of the entire system, is like this, to have you hate yourself on various vibrations, various styles of words that are around the world of hatred, vibratorily speaking. It keeps you out of balance of your present moment, out of balance of your future generations, creations, and out of balance of understanding your true history. So what else did I... Yeah, they design the future for themselves and have zero concern with everybody else or the future generations. Profiting off of death. You can see this with birth certificates, the enslavement, the paid slavery, the legal name, the straw man version of reality. You can see this with death certificates. They profit off of death certificates. Marriage, you can't even get married. You can't even have a relationship without having the state or the government involved in some kind of way. It's controlling every single aspect of your reality. When every single aspect of your reality, and if you have even the slightest understanding of having a metaphysical reality, you have a pineal gland. If you don't access that part of your reality, then entities who are aware of that reality will access it if you gap your reality enough to where they can utilize that space. This is how far we've been dumbed down by the scientism community, by the heliocentric model, the transhumanism agenda, the colonial universe as a whole. As long as they dumb down the consciousness that exists on all kinds of different realms and dimensions and creatings of timelines and realities, if they dumb you down to a rock, to a tree, to an animalistic behavior, which is an easy form, if they de-evolve you to an animalistic nature, then those entities can actually inhabit the space that is the gap between your human experience and your relationship to the animalistic nature that is this body's relationship with the earth plane as a whole. Those balances. So if they can de-evolve you to an animal, then who's utilizing the energy of your maximum potentials of your chakras and your pineal gland and your human experience as a whole? It will be the individuals, the entities, the disembodied entities, and the conscious entities who are aware of that alchemy. They're on every level. Hollywood is an alchemy. The university system is an alchemy. And if we don't even know what the fuck alchemy is, then you're going to be subject to it because you're unaware, and that's your choice. It's a lot of the times people aren't like, it's not like I'm not saying it like it's your responsibility if you're completely unaware, like it's your fault. What I'm saying is that we're all on a journey and we're learning, and ignorance is not the responsibility of anybody else but yourself to overcome that ignorance. And that ignorance is not to say that you're ignorant, like stupid or anything like that, or anybody is like that. It's just a lack of awareness. Awareness is up to you. It's not up to anybody else to make you be responsible for your own awareness. And since everybody is on their own journey, like for me, my example of my awareness was focused on taking care of myself right after graduating from high school. So I had to join the army because that was my only option, I thought, at the time. So once I got out of there, a next layer of awareness was I need to start addressing the downfalls of this system. So I started to focus on the Occupy protest, and then actual protest the system as a whole. Then I started to realize that, oh well, I need to become aware of myself and realize that this is actual spiritual warfare. So I stepped my game up and started to see, how far this whole program goes on every level, and then go into that world. And then once I was in and out of that world, which I'm still in right now, on this constant journey, then you start to realize how everybody is connected, and everybody is on a journey, and everybody is learning, and none of this stuff is anybody's fault. There's no fault. There's no fault, and there's no comparison. There's no judgment on anybody or anything in reference to all of this. But there are people now today that are benefiting off of that ignorance and those energies that are like the people who benefit off of like the bankers, like the people who benefit off of people getting cancer, like the cancer industry that makes money off of holding back cancer treatment. In fact, the government creates laws to inhibit people from treating cancer any other way than the system tells you to treat cancer. Then the cancer industry tells you to treat cancer. That is a law, a universal law that is being broken on a spiritual soul level scale. And the individuals who are knowingly profiting off of that system and knowingly expanding that system, they will pay. They will have to face their justice from the Most High. They know that. This is why those entities may try to stay here in this realm, because they don't want to face the Most High fire. So there's a justice on the Most High level, and then there's also the human justice. And we are adjusting all of these understandings as we balance out our relationship with nature. And the people who are knowingly profiting off of stuff like the cancer industry and the military industrial complex and the prison industrial complex, their time will come. And their time will more come when we empower ourselves to understand and become aware of the entire system as a whole, and not completely concern ourselves with the individuals who don't need our focus in the first place, because they will be more revealed for who and what they are as we become more empowered individually and collectively. and stop believing all their bogus shit like CERN and SpaceX and the heliocentric model and all these toys with smartphones and all this climate change bogusness and all their commercial revolutions like TYT and Donald Trump and Alex Jones. We stop concerning ourselves, not saying don't be aware of it, but stop concerning ourselves as the focus of our reality with the reactionary program that gets placed out there for us. Those are vampires. It's a parasitic system. And the more we focus on it from the inside out, on that parasitic system, the more it's able to expand, because our consciousness is not expanding. Like I said earlier, that parasitic system has to adjust to the consciousness of the people. And if the people are not expanding their consciousness because they are allowing their consciousness to be consumed by the system of parasitism, then we're spinning our wheels. We're not doing anything. This is why I focus so much on healing the roots and reconnecting. We have to heal these wounds that these vampires are feeding off of on a regular basis. Those wounds need to be healed before any kind of forward progress even gets made. So that's basically what I wanted to share with this video. So thank you for joining me, and until next time, from All My Relations, peace, love, and harmony.